Yeah,
Right. I'll do
you can
that.
send the code later if you and share it. Fine, yeah.
Okay. Right. So there we are. So sorry, those that have spoken already were not recorded, but we are from now on. So, Karen Jones, would you like to say something?
Hi, I'm Karen Jones. I'm a member of Wangaratta Friends of Lacluta. I've been visiting Timor since 2013, mostly yearly for a month. Our
Can you get a
friendship
bit nearer to your microphone? We're missing your sound a bit.
Oh, sorry. Our friendship group supports 2 scholarship students every year. They support vocational students and encouragement awards. And my special interest is in preschool. I'm a preschool teacher. And I've been involved with Hands recently and co-wrote a little play-at-home booklet for preschool children during COVID, which was supported by Hands with a Timorese lady called Rebella Punif, who lives in the northeast of Victoria too. So that's me.
Hmm. Now, Gabrielle from Canberra. You can you unmute yourself? Gabrielle?
Hello.
Yes.
Hello, everyone. It's Gay from Canberra Friends of Dili, convener of Canberra Friends of Dili. And there might be a couple of our other people, Gordana and Tony Jerd, and maybe a couple of others who might tune in.
Good.
So we as the name says, we mainly do our activities around Dili, and we've focused mostly on health and a bit of education. But we've done, a number of different things. Most recently, we had a big fundraiser for tennis, Kids Timor Tennis. And so we've funded a tennis program in Timor, which actually goes, across Timor really, and children learn tennis related skills, which are transferable to many other things. Sport's very good. So we're hoping to do a bit more in the education area, and as Helen would know, we're supporting the teacher training at the moment, and also trying to help people with disabilities to reach their potential. So that's 2 of the things we're focusing on at the moment. And if there's, if disasters come up like the floods, then we generally send a bit of money over for that as well. And we also support, as you probably know, we've done some support for Whakapers. That's Gordana's early childhood involvement. Yeah.
Yes, and Canberra Friends of Dili is kindly supporting a project of the Education Bar Morris Life Skills Education on training for people running small libraries, which will be coming up early next year. So that's a very good initiative. We're pleased to be able. I'll talk more about the association doing that later. Now, okay. Suzanne Lees, are you?
Yes, hello, Suzanne Lees. I'm a retired teacher, and I'm sorry about that, but that's my son's puppet. And so I'm tuning in to hear what's sort of going on at the moment. In the past, I've done some careers counselling at Dili International School. I've done some support for Delio da Costa's community programs, and supporting one of the students from Dili International School who set up her own community house now. And in the past, I've done a bit of support in at a bar as well. So I'm really coming in to listen and see if I'm still useful in any way possible.
Yes, well, look, I think one of the things that I think there's a crying need for in Timor-Leste schools is careers education. So I am looking to try and call on your expertise later and knowledge, as well as knowledge of Timor, because there's, students are not getting a good overview of what sort of pathway they could follow when they finish education. I think the relationship between education and work, often described as unemployment, is a big issue, but it's really needs to be tackled in a different way. Anyway, we can have some discussion about that later. So thanks for participating. Now, Maura Sheehan from Sydney.
Hello, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
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 Just testing. So I've been involved with a group called the Friends of Maliana. We've been involved since 2000 during the UNTAD period and then continuing on. And our focus is, it was consulted with the community in Maliana at the time. It's a library and a community centre and a young artist meeting centre. So there's those kinds of activities that go on there. The bibliotheca is used also by students from various schools in the area. The kids mainly come in to read books and do drawings, and the older students come in to do their homework because there's a number of computers there that Timor Telecom sponsors, so they've got access. Now, within our group, within our group, there's also the Blackwattle, Sydney Secondary College Blackwattle campus, the senior high school there, is linked to Malibaka Yamato, which is a senior high school in Maliana. So we've got various activities that go on. And the principal, there's a relatively new principal down at Blackwattle. So that's been going on also for, nearly 20 years. So now we're starting to move into the area of looking at how we start training and providing resources, particularly in terms of looking at what careers people might have had. Again, so that's the career thing. My background myself is both in governance and in education. And I'm retired now from education, but I still do governance training. And one of the the projects that I did back in, based in Dili, was around curriculum and involving connecting the vocational colleges with employers. So there's a connection there in terms of vocation and jobs after you finish your vocational course. And the other interesting thing is Malibaka Yamato, that school that we're connected with, it actually became a high school with a vocational aspect to it. So that happened a number of years ago. So it's a constantly evolving and developing process. And I see that Trina's here as well, and Trina's also connected with us.
Ah, right, yes. Good, thanks very much, Maura. Gawain, are you available to turn on,
Absolutely.
unmute yourself? Yeah.
Yeah. Good evening, everybody. My name's Gowan Sharp. I suppose my relationship with Timor-Leste began in 2012, 2013, where I worked mostly with Caritas and Oxfam in a local cooperative there, working in agriculture, mostly using the system of rice intensification to see what sort of things we could possibly stick together. Currently, I'm a teacher in Melbourne. My school has quite a bit of association with Timor-Leste, hence I'm really interested in getting back into the conversation and seeing what connections can be made. Thanks. Thank you.
Good, thanks very much. Now, if people are moving around on the screen, HP is the next person I can see.
Stands for Hewlett Packard, which is the machine I'm using.
Right.
But in reality, the name is Marion Smith.
Of course, yes.
So, yeah, sorry, configurations as they go. My area of interest and work is in adult numeracy, and my research is in Timor-Leste is on adults between the age of 25 and 65 who may or may not have had access to education, and developing numeracy competency, confidence and skills as a basic need. And the fact that I teach from the aspects I don't expect them to be literate in any language, including mother tongue. So I believe numeracy is a separate cognitive process and can be taught without language words framework. So that's where I'm from, and that's what I'm interested in. Anyone interested in numeracy? And the question I normally ask everybody is, you know, who likes maths? Most people hate it. Put their hands up and said, "Oh, I'm not very good." There you go. There's the hands going up.
And
In actual fact, it's common throughout the world, but it's usually based on bad experience during your schooling. Numbers.
and you're in Dili. Are you in Dili still?
Based in Dili.
Yes.
At the moment, I'm talking from the offices of CBTL, Red Cross.
All right, right.
Yeah.
Right. Now, Trina.
Yes.
Hmm.
I first went to East Timor in 2000, January 2000, the end of January.
Ah, yes.
And I worked with my East Timorese colleagues there to establish the education system. So that involved recruitment of teachers, textbooks, schools being set up again, working with a multiplicity of international organizations, but crucially with our East Timorese colleagues. Is everything okay?
Yes, that's
Okay.
all right. Yes. Now,
And
Tom. Oh, sorry. Have you finished or no? Yes.
just going to say that I wrote a book about that,
Yes.
and I've now updated that and extended it, and it's in Indonesian. And I'm working with the editors to get that book out. And Helen, I might ask you for help later on to send the book out to East Timorese universities.
Well, you know, one of the things when we do our library training course, we're going to try and get books that need to be in all libraries and have the librarians learn how to catalogue them and then take them to their own library, so that, you know, we're looking at a system like this to get books so people can borrow them and don't have to buy them. But it's going to be a bit of a long-term effort, Thomas. Yes, but certainly we can, and we will. At the end, when we finish the introduction, I'd like us to be looking at also a way in which this group can sort of store some archives, store some information and have it available to people, particularly about things like books people have written and would like to recommend to libraries in any of the 4 languages used in Timor, because I think there is need for communication all over the place about basic information. We are talking mostly now about basic information, but a lot of people don't have it. And so this is why we want to have a discussion about how to get this sort of stuff out. And I think that's a good example. Anyway, now we'll move on to Tom Sperling.
Thank you, Helen. So I'm Tom Sperling. Helen, I'm just about to retire from Swinburne University after being there for 23 years. And I'm a chemist by training, although I have been in the faculty of business in my time at Swinburne. My interest in Timor-Leste is twofold. I'm a member of Friends of Vermasse, and Friends of Vermasse are involved in supporting the secondary school and primary schools in the sub-district of Vermasse. We do this mainly by supporting teachers and giving scholarships to students. And we are also very much involved in the local cooperative credit society, which buys agricultural equipment and hires it out to the local farmers. So I'd be very interested in following up with Gawan about agricultural opportunities. My second interest is in the profession of chemistry. I helped set up the Timor-Leste Chemical Society, and the aim of that was to connect the professional chemists in Timor to the Federation of Asian Chemical Societies and other professional chemists around the region. And I think that was quite successful, although I haven't been back to Timor-Leste, so I can't give you an up-to-date view on that. I hope to get back there in 2024, Helen.
Right, good. Thanks very much. Now we'll move on to Apolli Magno from UNTL in Dili. I presume you're in Dili.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Helen. Here is Apollinario Magno. I'm working as the director for Advanced Training Center attached to UNTL, National University of Timor-Leste. I used to, I had 7 years of experience being Director General for Ministry of Education. But with the Ministry of Education, we're still working with Ministry of Education, particularly in one of our projects called Gender and Inclusive Pedagogy. And also we are moving to KICS, Knowledge Share. It based in Geneva, and also NORAC from Canada. I was nominated as a country director, country coordinator for that project. We are still working on. Hopefully, with this, of course, with this interaction and communication, I can get more information from everyone here, particularly how to improve the database or educational database in Timor-Leste, and how to get and then how to share the educational data from among us in Timor-Leste. I think this is what I am very much looking forward to seeing in the future. Thank you, and it's great, and it is an honor to meet you all here. Thank you.
Right, thanks, Apolli. Now we'll move on to Jeza. Jeza is a member of our IT group. Jeza is a computer person.
Good
Jeza.
afternoon, everybody. Yes, I don't know if you can hear me because the internet here is very bad.
You're in
Yep.
Dili, yeah. No, we can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay,
I can hear you.
because I had to connect from the phone, from the computer was impossible. So at the
Right.
last moment I could do it by the phone. Well, I'm, as Helen said, thank you, Helen, for the invitation, and thank you everybody for joining. As Helen said, my main formation is in IT area, but I also have a specialization in teachers training. Here in Timor-Leste, I've worked in many projects of teachers training. I worked at UNTL together with Professor Apollinario Magno. Then I moved to another university. And I'm very interested in the success of the education in Timor-Leste. So because of that, I'm here now. Thank you.
Good. Thanks very much. Now, Zrig, are you there? Can you unmute yourself? Zrig? Hello? Hello? Now, the next in my list is Gabrielle, but I think we've heard from her.
Helen, it's Cheryl.
Yes. Yes, Cheryl, would you like to say something? Yes. Yes.
Helen, it's Cheryl. Is it possible for me? Yeah, sorry, as it will be no surprise, I'm on Atauro and the internet's going on and off.
Oh, right.
Hi, I'm Cheryl. 22-year relationship with Timor.
Yes.
Started off before the ICFP started. And I'm, basically focused on teacher training, and I've been worked at the Dili International School, and very interested in connecting over the teaching of chemistry, which I did for 4 years there, and currently employed by the ministry to many jobs, but the primary one at the beginning is to set up to help set up the mentoring program that's unrolling in Akusi, Ainero and Amera, and that's the teacher mentors, and also to introduce the SEA PLM standardized testing that's being introduced as well.
Sorry, which
Not sure if you got
standardised?
that, Helen.
Can you say what standardised testing that is? For who to do what?
The government's looking to implement
Oh dear, don't say we've lost Cheryl on Atauro.
Looks
Having
like
a
it.
having a brief holiday there before starting work, yes. Oh dear, that's a pity. We'll hopefully get back to you again, Cheryl, and you can give us a bit more detail. Now, Joey, let's have Joey introduce himself. Joey, unmute yourself.
Hello. My
Yes.
complete name is Junior Domingos da Costa Jimenez, but you can call me Joey. So I'm a member of the life skills education, especially in teaching English course, and also the involved in the English teachers networks. And currently, I'm teaching at some of the theological college, teaching English, and I love to discuss things about the teaching and learning process, Timor-Leste, and also education system. I think that's all. Thank you.
Yes, good. Thanks, Joey. Yes, we'll mention again later the English Teachers Network that Joey is setting up, because this was also part of the recommendations we made from our work, advice to the minister in the previous government, when she was in the previous government, about setting up teachers' subject associations and giving teachers active involvement in contributing to the writing of the curriculum. And this goes for chemistry as well. We would love to see a chemistry teachers association come up, as well as an actual chemistry association of Timor. And I've also been doing some work with Joey in where he's teaching in the Protestant Theological College there too, which is a brand new organisation. I've been teaching some community development there. So we'll now move on to Tika. Tika, can you hear us?
Greetings, everyone.
You're
the west.
You're in Western Australia.
Western Australia, beautiful
Good to see
Margaret
you.
River wine
Yes.
region. My apologies for being late. I'm actually on holidays. I had to run back into home.
Yes, most people are.
Thank you, Dr. Helen, for allowing me to come on this exciting. My background is vocational education training, early childhood sector. So I'm a childcare lecturer at Margaret River South Regional TAFE. Out of that, I actually am the local Palm Community Connection Program Coordinator, which I oversee the welfare of the seasonal workers. So what we're trying to do is actually engage the seasonal workers to be part of diverse regional areas. So currently there is about 3,200 workers in the whole of WA. There are six coordinators that we volunteer on top of our work to engage the seasonal workers. And what we're finding is the numeracy and literacy skills are very below average, ranging from 25 years up to 45. So I just wanted to see what's happening in Timor-Leste. I was fortunate to attend the Timorese Studies Association conference that was held in July. And, you know, I had an opportunity to attend some of the workshops and listen to various areas of education. I've still got family. My father's from Lakluba, and my mum's from Evameda. So what we do is we directly just network with the schools in those regions and actually send money and find out what's needed to support our immediate families. I have been involved in Rotary in the past years with projects, and also a member of Margaret River Lions, which we have sent Year 12 students to Atauro Island, and they've done various projects in Timor-Leste. My daughters went to St. Mary MacKillop, which is half an hour from Margaret River. So we've actually had projects my mind's just gone blank, Bagia. So my daughter, who's now 24, she had the opportunity to attend that as part of Year 12 service learning. And so they still do projects and they've rebuilt schools and we still send money. I want to improve the education system in Timor, even though I'm in WA. My intention is to go back home to retire. People think I'm crazy, but I'm getting very homesick. And so my background's early childhood, which is my passion. And, I believe in networking. So I'm quite involved in the Bunbury Catholic Diocese. So I'm quite involved in the WA Archdiocese as well. And we network quite a bit across the state to support the seasonal workers. And early childhood education is where I want things to improve in East Timor. So please, I would love to network and see what I can do in my capacity. I only work part-time. I am involved in sports activities. I also am on the committee of the Margaret River Tennis Club. So we've been supporting the tennis club in Dili with equipment, and I want to actually do a project where the workers can actually connect their families to play tennis. And we want to see where we can actually take other projects through education, through sport. That's all.
Good. Well, thanks very much, Tika. Now, James Ellis, I see, has just joined us. So we're introducing ourselves and what people are doing in Timor. If you would like to say something about what you do in Australia and how it might be relevant to Timor, that would be excellent.
Oh, g'day everyone. Can you hear me? Is that working out on your end? Yeah,
yes.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah, g'day. My name's James. I have an education background from early childhood right through to university and everywhere in between. I'm living across New South Wales and South Australia at the moment, and currently in South Australia, supporting a few projects in the Asia Pacific Rim. And Helen's one of the people I've been chatting to. And so my background is at the moment like the regulator, teacher registration, teacher regulatory bodies, initial teacher education, training and support. And behind all of that, I've been working with teacher standards with the Australian Professional Standards for Teachers and looking at ways to support proactively the regulation and the registration of teachers and the accrediting of university programs for early childhood, for primary, for high school teachers, and for master's programs, and a few other things as well. Super interested in a lot of things, from curriculum right through to the things that people think are boring in terms of regulation and accreditation. But I find it just equally as interesting, and I'm interested to support the work in Timor, like many other people have, and I'm interested to get to know the members of the group.
Good. Thanks very much.
No worries.
Now the only person we haven't heard from is Mr. Zrig. Are you there?
I think that might be Rob Gray.
Oh, is it? Rob Gray, are you there? ZRGG, yes. Oh, somebody else has joined the waiting room. We've got.
Right.
Ah, yes, hello. Rob.
You have me, yes.
Good.
I'm here.
Good. Well,
I'm
if you can tell us a bit about your group.
Yep. Okay, I'm part of a number of groups in Ballarat, and we are associated with Atauro. We've been running for about 15 years, Teachers for Timor, teaching English to the community at a lot of different levels. And that program has led us to get to know a lot of students needing help to go to university. So we've sponsored probably 20 or 30 students in that time at various universities. Just recently, since COVID, we've found it hard to get volunteers to go back and work in our English program. And the people of Atauro are very keen to have us there and running the program. Fortunately, they've got a very active youth centre that's providing for that gap that we've more or less left. And we now are planning to work with the youth centre there and help them improve their English courses, assist them with teaching and the planning of the English that they present. And recently, one of our English teachers who is actually trained in hospitality area, he could see the need for development of hospitality and tourism skills in the community, and he has also linked up with the youth centre and had a very successful year last year presenting a course which he was able to provide certificates from the local administration to say that these students had done the course, and they are now being used whenever there are functions on. So they're looking to do another course this year, and probably the main approach that we from Ballarat are going to take is training the trainers within the community to take over from where we're obviously going to run out of volunteers. We're all getting a bit old, and that's what's happened with a lot of the Teachers for Timor plan. There are over 70 volunteer teachers who've been there, but they're all finding it difficult to have the energy to get back there. So, but we still have a lot of enthusiasm for running programs. So I'll be going back and working with the CJMA, which is the youth centre program in the English area. I'm still taking students from Ballarat Grammar. We have a friendship arrangement with the local high school, and we're assisting them to upgrade their facilities. They don't have doors or windows on a lot of their rooms, and broken concrete floors, so on. So we're sort of pushing our school. We who have much need to assist those who don't have very much at all. And our kids love going over there and meeting the local kids and getting involved in their lives. So that's another thing that I do each year. So a few of us who are able to travel, we are still keen on keeping things going in the Atauro district.
Good. Well, thanks very much. Oh, finished?
Yep.
Yes, but Rob, because I think the Teachers for Timor model is a very interesting one, and I believe one that might be applicable to other areas, possibly in collaboration with Joey's Timor Teachers Network. I'd love to see a systematic way of getting Australian volunteer teachers up to Timor on a regular basis, consulting with the Timorese teachers on the very highly needed task of reform of the English curriculum. You know, the English curriculum still largely the old Indonesian one, you know, loaded with grammar.
If you are talking to Paul Simonson at this stage,
he came to our meeting. Yes.
Yeah, he's very keen on voluntourism. So getting young people touring over there and spending some time, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever they can add to a program. And we're going to try that using Paul's enthusiasm and ideas with our programs, because I think where you have a community youth centre set up that's as positive as the one in Atauro, they just need some assistance in designing their programs and making sure they've got trained trainers who can carry on the processes. So yeah, as I say, that's the direction we'll be taking in the next 12 months.
Oh, well, that's very interesting. Now, I noticed that another person has joined us. Gordana from Canberra. Yes, do you want to quickly introduce yours? Oh, no, we've also two others, Fran and Mark also. Yes, Gordana. Yes. Unmute yourself, Gordana, and then...
Yep. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm sorry I'm late. My background is really early childhood, very much up to the age of 8. But I'm certainly interested because I'm a member of Canberra Friends of Dili, and we just embraced to support the librarians and teachers in Timor training program. And of course, knowing Helen for many, many, many years, I just wanted to sort of learn a little bit more about this group.
Yes, that's with our NGO Life Skills Education, Education by Morris. And we have the trainer will be the president of the Librarians Association, sadly one of Timor-Leste's few trained librarians. It's a tragedy there's no librarianship course taught in Timor, no degree or diploma course. And there is, I think, a crisis which relates to the crisis in literacy too, because people are not able to borrow books, take them home, read them in all their languages.
But also mentioning a lifelong learning, that
yes.
One conversation that I had with Helen a few years ago was also about competency training for youth and young people, 20s, 30s, and so on, which is something that could probably work quite well in Timor.
Yes, I mean, there is, should I say this, there is an attitude problem that general secondary school should be about theory rather than anything practical that would lend itself to competency-based training. And this is why I'm very interested in these hospitality in Atauro, because I believe dressmaking, hospitality, and possibly even simple motor mechanics should be taught in the general secondary schools, not a tech fox school where you only do one subject, but a general school where you can link it to your science, because it's linked with science, and they're totally separated. I'm sorry to say, but anyway, we'll have a further discussion on this later. We'll just let Mark and Fran introduce themselves if they're still around. Gosh. Are they?
Hello there, Helen. I've unmuted.
Oh, yes, there you are. Yes.
Hello, my dears. I hope everybody is well. We've all just had late doses of COVID. Always exciting. We're coming to Timor in August, in 2024. We have a wide variety of people involved, well, mostly retired, I won't deny it, speaking of ageing population, but many of us had sort of teaching and professional experience in social work, nursing, tutors, medicine, all sorts of things. So we're not a one unit. It's because we actually are a group who come together to sing in the languages of the people that we visit. So, for instance, in Timor, we sing as much as we can in Tetun, which means we learn it, which is wonderful for us as well. And we get to communicate with choirs and singers in Timor who have a great interest in a background, if you like, in the more the developing national interest that Timor had through the 1970s, which Helen, of course, is so, absolutely was so immersed in. And And so we still have that kind of interest to follow those things up, although presumably we're mostly now singing alongside often the grandchildren who had their grandparents' experiences to understand their political past. So we're not a single educational offering, if you like, although within our choir group that's coming over, we have people who will attend the hospital, the Guido Valadares hospital there, and one of them is able to connect quite complex cancer, the sorts of things that you need to know whether the machinery is actually working. She was a teacher in pathology. So people with us will also have some of that sort of experience, but it's not sort of one directional, if you like. And Mark was a computer programmer all his life. He used to be called a systems analyst, as we may remember. And so he may have some chances to, sort of find a connection there as well. But in general, we are more interested in Timor because it has been, it's a neighbour of ours. It's had such enormous depredation made upon it. We feel as though that our chance is now to come in and at least make friendships, which are always important, and to do whatever it is that we can do that creates bonds, really.
Good.
So,
Well,
yes, thank you.
Thanks, Fran. This raises to me the issue which I was speaking with Tony, our treasurer of AETA in Melbourne, who runs the Boite, the issue of music in education.
Indeed,
in Timor,
absolutely,
which
absolutely.
is sadly lacking. And I don't know whether any of the Australian groups have had any involvement in trying to assist with bringing music into the schooling system, because it is a tragedy that music, art and sport are not taught in the public schools, and people are dropping out because school is boring. And anyway, this is another issue to be talked about.
Yeah, so to the extent of the arts, definitely, we feel that it has a huge role, even where people have a professional life, which may be not necessarily, completely within the arts.
Yes, now that's right. Now, there's a couple of... now, first of all, does anybody want to ask questions? We've now got another just over half an hour. I think that it would be good. Yes, Maura, would you like to say something?
Yes, it's a couple of comments in terms of some of the connections. I mean, one of the things I agree with, there's an issue about what is in the curriculum, support for networking, etc. Absolutely critical in Timor-Leste. On our end, one of the things that I've been working on is getting the study of Timor-Leste into the curriculum here in New South Wales, and so that so there's more involvement from schools, and also Blackwattle always it had to stop during the COVID, and they'll only be allowed to start it again in 2024, which they will be doing, is having that student exchange program and working on that. So there's the developing of the relationships and the social understanding and so on. There's that element of it, and there's artistic and cultural parts of that are common, whether it's artwork, music, etc. They all get combined into that understanding. And then there's the other part of it that you're talking about, is how to develop a curriculum and a teacher training and empowerment program so that teachers can really teach and learn and students can really engage. There's those two elements, if you like, that are parallel to each other and need to interconnect.
Yes, look, I think that's a good way of putting it, Maura. You know, because you've got some activities that are already going on, you know, this sort of friendship type activities, which are quite simple and straightforward. The curriculum and the content itself is more of a Timorese matter, but we can help by, you know, getting Timorese prepared who are well able to make contributions into, you know, what is taught and how it's taught, because we won't be around forever, and Timorese need to take control of the system. Now, Katrina Langford has raised her hand. Yes, Katrina, would you like to say something?
Yeah, I'm just adding into the discussion about linking and sort of sharing information. can I share my screen very quickly? Is that all right?
Yes. Oh, yes. If you've got something you want to show, yes, please do. Maybe I've got to let you do it. I think I've got to.
Yeah, you've got to give her permission.
Now, how do I do that?
Sorry.
Oh, yes, share screen, yes. Now, hang on. No, wait on. I do this. Multiple participants can share screen. Now, is that letting you do it?
Yes.
Yes.
So a little while ago, I mean, I haven't touched this for quite a while, but we put together a list of Australia Timor school links. So it's just the Australian school, link to the Timor school, brief description, contact, and the website. And I either pulled this off websites that I found, or people contacted me.
Oh, yes.
And, you know, there's a few there that you can see is a bit out of date, but there are quite a few on there. So, I mean, this is one way that the Timor Link website, I'm more than happy for this to be
yes,
at least a starting point. If we want to start like putting information up and having it online somewhere, I'm more than happy to have that on here.
I'm so sorry. I don't know if it's only me, but I'm only seeing the screen of Helen.
No, well, look, I'm busy trying to.
Sorry.
I can see the shared screen, so
you can see the shared screen, can you? Because I can only see a little bit of green at the top. Stop sharing.
There's membership.
I can see the shared screen, but I'm not sure.
It's got an email from me on it. Yes, it's got an email. From,
there you go.
What is that meant to be?
It's not meant. Look, it's
Helen,
it's
listen
because
to me.
of my incompetence on computers, and I cannot close it.
Helen, listen to me.
Yes.
You are sharing your screen. You have to stop sharing your screen,
and
then the lady that wants to share. Yeah, now it's appearing.
That's
okay,
better.
that's
Yes.
okay.
Thank you. Thanks, Shaza.
Yes.
My IT advisor. Yes.
Schooling. So it's a list of Australian schools in them.
Okay, so this is the school list, and it's just Australian school, Timorese school, brief description, contact, and then a website.
Yes.
And so I don't want to scroll too fast, give you all headaches, but there's quite a few on there. And then we've got people can add.
Wow.
So I'm more than happy for if the Timor Link website could be useful in that way. I'm more than happy for it to be at least initially as a starting off point, and then maybe when we get around to it, we migrate it to its own website or something down the track. But I've just got it here on Timor Links and Australia Timor School Links, and we can add, I mean, it's all over the place at the moment. I need to get our web person on it, but I can add information on here on whatever we want. Like if we wanted to have links of people who are interested in early childhood, we could have a tab here that's all early childhood links with people's information, or chemistry, we could have a chemistry one, or I don't know, if that is useful, I'm more than happy to facilitate that
now look, that's
as an initial thing before it migrates somewhere else or whatever.
I think that would be very useful, and if you could even put the link to that website on our chat so people can see it, can find it themselves. And to have a look at it.
Do that right now.
And plus your contact details were where they could send other information. I mean, we don't expect you to do a huge amount in updating it, but if if it's quick and easy to add, you know, a few.
It is quick and easy. And also
to it.
if anybody has time and energy to do this kind of stuff, because
Yes.
my work week is just crazy. But if
I'm
anyone
sure.
had a bit of extra time to help facilitate this, I would jump at that.
Right. Well, I might give you a call and have a talk while I'm still in Melbourne too. I presume you're in Melbourne, are you?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Mm.
And look, I'm quite happy to particularly with that education link stuff and so on and schools, I'm quite happy to provide any assistance that's useful in terms of keeping it up to date, adding stuff, etc., if that's any use to you. We can chat about it
No,
later.
that would be good, because we need
That would be
people from all
amazing.
states or from all locations. Now, I
Mm.
remember there was a friendship schools organisation at one stage, wasn't it, which folded,
Yeah.
which had a link with the teachers' unions. Now, anybody have any involvement in that, or know whether the teachers' unions are still interested in Timor at all?
Yeah, it's me, because it did drift. It sort of went the change of personnel, but actually earlier this year, I was chatting with the union, and they here in New South Wales, that is, the teachers' union. They said they were interested. I mean, part of the reason was sort of various reorganizations and splitting of teachers in this union or that union, and which one should they belong. A whole bunch of stuff going on. So I'm quite happy to follow that up too, actually, because that's, I think, really interesting.
Yes. Now, I mean, this brings up another issue, and this is one of the issues that Rob Gray talked about, and that is sort of generational change and, I wouldn't say inability, or the lack of getting young people involved in Timor, the sort of Timor links that our generation had, because Timor was a political struggle then. And now it's a development struggle, which is a bit different, but still has some of the same aspects to it. And I wonder if anyone here knows about these two groups that have been formed by the young people in Sydney. Either Better, anybody know about Better? Anyone have any contacts with Better? Better is an acronym which means Building East Timor through
Is that Ornella
Educational Resources?
Biak?
It is. Ornelia Biak. She got the Order of Timor. She got the Medal of the Order of Timor last year.
I think I got a few text messages and emails, but I'm going back about 6 months from that group. Yeah, so yeah, I agree. It would be actually, I thought they might be on our list. I think I sent a con.
She's on this list. I did invite her. She's on this list. I've never actually spoken to her. She's moved to Timor. They've set up a school in Sames.
That's maybe
Joey,
why.
do you want to say something? And the other group is called Educating the Future, which is setting up preschools. These are both groups of young people who went to Timor as secondary students, got inspired, came back. Then they asked the Ministry of Education what they should do to help education in Timor, and they said build schools. And so they've had huge fundraisers with, you know, people like our former Governor General, who was,
and just to add that, Helen, yes, and what appears to be happening, at least this is New South Wales now, I'm not sure whether it's similar, but it'd be good to make the connections, is that there's groups that are public schools, which is like Blackwattle is public schools.
Yes.
So there's the independent schools, which is the group you've just been describing, a couple of schools from North Sydney, and then there's the Catholic schools, which also does their own thing. So actually getting them all connected up, I think.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
Anyway, Joey, you wanted to say something. Joey, unmute yourself.
Yes. Yeah. because I'm just interested in English teacher network as well. And then Mana Katrina also introduced the Timor link. I think this website we can use to, English teachers can use or other teachers can use to connect each other, to have a chatting it to each other, and then discussing things about the teaching and learning process, in each subject. I think it's also useful for the English teachers network because, as Mana Katrina said that it is easy to access and then it's easy to get. So I think it's very useful for the English teacher network to gathering together through the this link in order to have a chat and discussion as well. Relates with the Mana Gordana as well, because it support the English books for the English teachers as well. With the I'm helping to drop some of the boxes that these books for dictionaries and also the other books to the schools, and for some of the community learning centers as well. I think this is the important things that we can discuss forward in the next year as well. I think this is very important. Yes.
Just a quick question, Joe. Helen, do you feel you need more dictionaries? There was quite a huge number of dictionaries that got distributed just over the last 12 months, but do you think you might want more?
Yes, because when we our organization's life skill education is established, so we want to set up a library, and also the school that I'm teaching, like theological schools, and we also need the dictionaries and other books that can available for the readers want to read. Yes, we actually need it. Yeah.
Well, I think also if our advocacy is successful for getting the Ministry of Education to train one person with library skills in every secondary school, there will then be a need for all sorts of books in those libraries. See, because at the moment they're not using their libraries as libraries. They're using them as a book storage room, with books lying in plastic packets. And the idea is that if they followed the recommendations when our group was working there, which they didn't, but they still could. Now Dulcie's minister again, train a librarian, a teacher librarian in each school, set up a borrowing system, a cataloguing system and a borrowing system. So people can borrow books, and of course dictionaries are a reference item. So that there will be tremendous need, but it hasn't quite come up yet, but it will. Now, Katrina,
could I ask
yes.
what are the dictionaries that are being distributed? Which ones? Is it the
ebook dictionary and Mercury dictionary, Webster dictionary. Ebook dictionary it's more like encyclopedia, and
are they just in English?
Yeah, in English, yes.
So nothing in Tetun?
No, there were English dictionaries and some volumes of, I think, thesaurus as well, but purely English dictionaries.
Okay, so that's an issue as well, isn't it? That access.
Well, that's why I'm asking whether they want more of the same, because yes, how useful are the English dictionaries? Not the really translatory dictionaries from one language to another. And that's why I was asking whether they want some more English dictionaries.
While we distributing these books, some of the community learning centers, they also ask, but I say that no, we don't have more because we already distributed to 3 or 4 schools, but they still asking more dictionary. So we can
So they
of course,
actually
we
want
will, yeah.
more.
Yeah, they actually want more. Yeah, that's
Right.
yeah.
Okay.
Helen? Helen? Helen?
Is Helen
Unmute.
mute?
Helen, you're on mute.
Hello.
We can't hear you, Helen.
You are
Somehow.
on mute.
Yes, sorry, I didn't realise I'd been muted. Yes. Now,
Can I just ask about that, Helen? I just want to ask
Yes.
about, I think that question about English dictionaries or Tetun English dictionaries is very important.
Yeah.
Because it's very useful to have Tetun to English for Tetun speaking people. So I just wanted to clarify.
Oh no! Look, this is true. There's no doubt. There's no debate about this. This is true. But you see, the Canberra Friends of Dili only decided to collect English dictionaries. So that's what they did. But I think this raises the whole question about language transition and language learning in the schooling system as a whole. Now, I'm very interested to hear Katrina say that now what's it called? It was called the multilingual program, or is it called the mother tongue? Is it called the mother tongue program again?
Mother tongue. Yes.
Yeah, I think it was
Mother tongue.
Emily and now it's Emily. It keeps changing names.
Yes, Emily. You see,
mother tongue.
I think mother tongue is a very bad word to use because the word is used wrongly in Timor, and people make all sorts of. It leads to political debates that are of that are counterproductive. Multilingual is a good name for it, I think, because Timor is a multilingual country, and I don't know whether any of you have read my paper on the struggle for quality in education. But one of the issues that I've made in that is I believe the so-called language debate, which has been taking up a lot of time and effort and in Timor, is the wrong language debate. You know, different languages are pitted against each other. Different political parties have different priorities. And in reality, the Constitution puts 4 languages in there, and the task should be how to get people from year 1, when they speak whatever language they were taught by their parents, to year 12, where they should be able to speak, read and write Tetum Portuguese and English, and have the possibility to do it in Indonesian as well if they choose. And I think that language teachers of the 3 languages should be getting together to talk about methodologies of language teaching, because, you know, there are some funny methodologies in the English teaching that came from Indonesia because it didn't basically want Timorese to learn English very well. And the Tetum and Portuguese speakers, the language transition that Dilson brought in, I believe, is generally speaking a good one. Now, it might be that there's not enough years of Portuguese as a subject before it becomes a medium of instruction, but I think it's valuable for Timorese to learn Portuguese before English because they have a large passive vocabulary in Portuguese, and in learning Portuguese, they learn conjugation of verbs and things like that they then can apply in their English. And I think too many Australians have tried to, you know, have an attitude that there's something wrong with what the Timorese are doing with languages in Timor. Whereas I believe that the sad thing is that Australia never properly got behind good quality English teaching. They had a big fight with the government because they wanted to do all sorts of, they wanted to build a building. They wanted to do all sorts of ridiculous things. But I think that things that Friendship Cities and others could do is through people-to-people links help to bring in elements of quality into the English teaching while respecting the overall language transition program, which is, I think, that they begin English in year 7. For goodness sake, they have 5 years of it, 6 years of it, and they still come out not much able to speak English. So,
Can I ask a question? I was right there in the early days, prior to 1999, you know, working
yes, that's right.
in early childhood and libraries from 1996. I was Oxfam Coordinator of Education in the 2000s, and decisions were made which were very puzzling to me. And one was that teachers did not speak Portuguese, most teachers, except for some very elderly teachers. I'm wondering now, what is the teacher's standard of Portuguese? Because what I see when I go over there, and I might be wrong, is that kids of 15 years old can write beautiful Portuguese and read, but don't understand it. And so they're not literate in either Portuguese, English, or theatre. And these are junior high school students. I think that's a big issue. If a teacher cannot speak the language well, it's very hard for them to teach it well.
Well, this is a problem in every subject, not just Portuguese, I'm sorry to say.
Yeah.
They can pass an exam in it and yet not apply it, not use it. That is the big problem. Because of the method of the exam, the multiple choice test marked by a machine at the end of school is a killer. And it's used to select people into university too. I mean, there are huge debates that need to be had in all fields.
Gabrielle, I think there was, I'm going to get this wrong, I think it was 2010, and I think it was the World Bank did a study into teacher language ability, and I think it was about 60% of teachers in Timor at that time self-identified as not having proficient Portuguese at that time. And I'm sure I've got the numbers wrong, but it was something around that. Does that sound right, Helen?
That's right. No, look, I think you could well be right, because that was just after the big test. What was it called? Where so many of the students couldn't even read. But and also, you see, the first constitutional government tried to teach in 2 languages at the same time, tried to teach reading and writing in both Tetum and Portuguese, and it didn't work. I mean, this is a lengthy topic now. I was going to say something else about this whole thing. The debate about language of instruction in early literacy. You know, also some people think you should learn to read in kindergarten, and others think you shouldn't. And the general research shows that if you don't learn to read in a language you already speak, more than half the class will fail. Now, if you're from an educated family with books in the home, you'll survive anything. So that, you know, certain people can do well, whatever the system, or if you're very bright. So there is a lot of, and again, I don't think one of the other big problems is that research on education in Timor is not lodged anywhere. Because of the failure of the National Library to be built, you don't have to put everything published in Timor in the library. You don't have to put all your research in one place. Nobody can find all the research that's been done on education in Timor and compare it and read it. So that this is what I call the librarianship crisis. And you know, it's sadly been perpetuated by people like various rectors of UNTL too. Anyway, I better not say anymore. Now, so other people have their hand up. Yes. Gabrielle, was it Gabrielle? No, you've already spoken. Joey. Oh, you didn't put your hand down. Yes.
Yeah. I just want to say something more.
Yes. Yes. You're a language teacher. Yes.
Yes. as you all make a point related with the teaching the languages, but sometimes we misunderstood how the language skills work. That's why we spend a lot of time to teach the grammar. So some of the teachers may assume that teaching grammar can improve students speaking skills or writing skills or their listening skills or reading skills, but in fact not, because when teacher teach grammar, they focus more on the form and formula, so the teachers will speak more than students. So they maybe they spend a lot of time to explain the one sentence in 30 minutes. After that is the school's finished. So only small part of the grammar can teach in the classroom. So it's really difficult for students and also for teachers, which is some of the teachers may teach the language, but they cannot speak that language because they cannot while the teaching sometimes we say that it is teaching and learning, but in different method and different approach in teaching, we cannot learn. That's why it's really difficult for teachers to improve their performance in language skills as well, and then as well as in the method of teaching. That's also the very difficult things to deal with.
The other point I was going to make is that InfoDepi, any of you familiar with InfoDepi, the in-service teacher training college, seems to be, sorry to say this, set up to fail. They get people in to do a block of studies all in 1 week or 2 weeks without going back to their classroom to put into practice anything they've learnt and come back and say whether it worked or not. And they pay people money to go to these courses, so the wrong people do the courses because they're making money from the courses. They get a per diem as well as their accommodation and food. So there are structural problems, I believe, in the upgrading of teachers in every subject, not just languages, but you notice it in languages because they did that first. Now, Tika, you want to say something?
Excuse my ignorance. I just wanted to know how many early childhood services, primary schools, secondary schools, tertiary, and universities are there in Timor-Leste?
Now that is a very good question. I'm not even sure where we would find it on a website. Yes.
If you're sort of referring to early childhood, are you talking about preschool age group?
Talking about long day care centres.
Right. There aren't very many long day care centres.
But is there one?
There is one, Focopus in Marconi, just behind Australian Embassy.
Okay.
They have a very large childcare centre called Knua Bala Barik, Place for Children.
Is that run by? Is that private or is that?
No. It's run by Focopus NGO.
Okay. Society organisation. Yeah.
I can send you the details and the contact person, but please, Tikas, can you send me your email address or something?
Yes, I will.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm due to go to Timor in May. And I would like to, I didn't have an opportunity when I was there in July to visit. I did go to a private school, and even on that visit, the school's been open for 7 years, and there was this library, but there was no books in the library. And they asked me to actually get some books through my Rotary contacts.
Right.
Yeah.
Now,
I can certainly tell you quite a lot. I've been involved with early childhood sector in Timor-Leste for some 7 years, since 2006. So we can talk.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Look, I do believe the government has got preschool as part of the formal system now. It's only recently become part of it, I believe. The New Zealanders have a big project called HANDS, which is focusing on preschool.
Yep.
Now, somebody, one of you was involved in it, I think. Yes, she might not
Oh,
be. Yes.
Dr. Helen, can I say something?
Yes. Now, Gabrielle, yes.
I just want to say that you know, Timor's trying to get in, well, getting into ASEAN, and so they need their English for that, really. You know, everyone's going to need their English, to help with that.
Well, now let me tell you a development on that. Steve Bracks, the former Premier of Victoria, is now the Chancellor of Victoria University. He went as Penny Wong's envoy to Timor to liaise on the Timor-Sea, Timor-Sea Treaty Agreement, Permanent Maritime Boundary Treaty. He signed Victoria University, of which he's the Chancellor, signed a memorandum of understanding with Dili Institute of Technology, DIT, where Katarina Van Klinken works, to provide English for the diplomats who are going to need English to service all those ASEAN committees. That is the main reason why Timor needs English to join ASEAN, is because there are about 80 subcommittees which they need English-speaking diplomats to service. Now, I don't know how successful it is to begin teaching English to people, you know, when they're already in the civil service and we're already in the diplomatic service. But anyway, that is going ahead. And I think there's always been a realisation that that people should learn English in secondary school, and again, but they don't begin it till year 7. They don't begin it till year 7, and they don't have interesting books to read in English, nor do they have interesting books to read in Portuguese, I don't think, or even Tetum, because there's not a lot of books written in Tetum. So this is where writing stories becomes an important part of language teaching.
Yeah, I agree. I think if with English, there's lots of resources out there in the organisations like ASEAN and in the International Labour Organisation and the all sorts of international organisations. People are happy to help, to share their resources. And so, you know, things like policies and procedures on all manner of things are out there, and we can get them easily. It's just, you know, they're in English.
Yes, but I don't know that it's, policies are not the problem. I think it's literature. See, the other problem about language teaching in Timor is that the main things in secondary language teaching in most schools are literature, poetry and drama. There's no literature, poetry and drama in the language teaching in Timorese schools. It's all boring stuff. And this is where, you know, people-to-people relationships can give good ideas, I think, of good books to read in the English course, good books to read in the Portuguese course. I was astounded. I asked a group of 100 people that were in a book launch I went to, a book that I helped write was launched, and I said, how many of you have read the famous Timorese novel, The Crossing? I don't know if any of you know the author of The Crossing. It's a lovely book. It's been translated into English, a fantastic book. Only one person had read that book in either Portuguese or English. It's astounding, because that's a book that would be of great interest to Timorese secondary schools, but it never came into the curriculum.
Helen, I think you have to look at the whole cultural thing about reading books, because it's not just the availability. I mean, that's a big thing.
Oh, no, that's true. I agree.
It's not a cultural norm for people to read, for adults to read books, you know, even teachers. So there's no modelling that a book is something that you spend time with or read. So that's part of the transition too, I think.
That is true. Yes, yes, that's true. Now, Polly, you want to say something?
Thank you very much, Dr. Helen. I think it's very nice to hear all these valuable information. I feel that all information that we share are very important for education system in Timor-Leste. Number one, I hope that we can establish a study center that we might call Timor-Leste Study Center, whether based in Melbourne or based in Dili, so that we can put all our data together. We can get our data at the same time we preserve our data. Number two, sometimes it's very hard for us to get data, educational data in Timor, because many cases, sometimes the data was also politicized. Sometimes, you know, you want to ask data, they keep asking who this guy is from, you know, whether from this party or from this color or from this group. That's the hardest thing that I feel when we come to to obtain any data in Timor. Number three, if we establish like a think tank, so these groups should be like a think tank for education in the future, and then we can share, and then also we ask agreement with the minister, particularly Minister of Education, if she can agree these groups to be established, and then we link with the government, and this should be as a think tank in the future, because all the things that we are discussing is still problem. I think when I was the Director General several years ago, back in 2008 to 2013, there is a program of the World Bank for, we call EGRA, the Early Childhood Reading Assessment.
EGRA, that's right, yes.
That document shows a problematic, all problems that Timor-Leste face. But in one hand, we have to realize that things is still related to politics. So the word politics here can justify anything, whether we like or not, but sometimes, you know, because of politics, they justify. So this is part of, or maybe good example is the teaching of language, the language of instruction. I think Helen knows very well, when in the fourth constitutional government, 2007 to 2012, the government does not or did not regard kindergarten as part of the formal system, because they consider early childhood, you know, education is expensive. So they release and then give to any private sector.
It was
or
part
any
of
NGO.
Non-formal education. It was part of non-formal education.
Yes. So that's why many NGOs, you know, I think 2 or 3, including sisters, the Catholic nuns, they run some kindergartens so far in Dili and in the districts. So and then again, the issue still remains as a problem here. So now we have to sort of like establish this group formally, and then probably we can ask endorsement from the government so that we can link with the government. Sometimes, you know, one government comes with different policy. The next one will, you know, would always different, you know. So that's why if we establish this one, we formalize this one, also would be very, very fast to spread to the districts. Before end, I would like to thank you very much, because today I see also Mr. Bob from Ballarat. I am from Atauro city. I used to work with Ballarat group in Atauro. We established the 100 years of Atauro city. That's back in 7 years ago, where I heavily involved in that program. I think Miss Susan and then Rose, I think, from Ballarat. And then today I saw the I took this screenshot of Mr. Rob, and I showed to one of my friends in Ainaro. He said that this is Ramos Horta. It's not Rob. I said, no. Just the face is exactly almost the same as Ramos Horta. Sorry.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, hello, yes.
Yes.
I think I saw your picture. I saw your picture to
Now,
Valentin. To Valentin
Yes.
Suarez. And then
That's correct.
that this Mr. Ramos Horta.
Now,
Yeah. Thank you very much for seeing you again here, Mr. Rob. I think I heavily involved in 100 years of the Ainaro city when we celebrate together with Ballarat in Ainaro. Thank you very much.
Well, yeah, thank you.
Great to see you here, and looking forward to seeing more this group to be maybe hopefully was as a think tank in the future. We have to formalize it and then ask endorsement from the government, so that, you know, if any government comes, at least we maintain the same position. Otherwise, things keep changing all the time. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Polly. Now, look, I've just realised we've got another participant who didn't introduce himself, and that's Peter Clements. Would you like to say a couple of words?
G'day, Helen. How are you going? Thank you for picking up that I've joined the meeting quite late. Good to hear a bit there about education, and particularly early childhood education. I've been involved with supporting the Catholic sisters and their kindergarten at the Cormorant Hustleran kindergarten there at the Foundation Canossa, and been doing that for about 10 years. Been very rewarding, and I've operated mainly through my Rotary Club membership here in Melbourne, and with Rotary's a great way to assist various schools in all over Timor with school supplies, chairs, tables, some reading books, some early picture books. We've had good feedback on, even though they're in English. We send some texters, some ink pens to the sisters can write over the English storybooks with 10 words. So we've overcome the shortage of Teton material to some degree by using that strategy. And I just wanted to say I'm an architect by trade. Recently started a research topic with Professor Michael Leach at Swinburne University here in Melbourne, and I'm doing some research on some of the informal settlements and the housing situation there in Dili, particularly in the western suburbs of Dili, around Cormorant, Bairo, Pite, Luru-Mata, some of those housing areas. So hopefully I'll be heading over to Dili in the coming year to do some primary research, speak to some people. If anybody's got ideas about the housing situation there in Dili, particularly in those western suburbs, love to talk to you. Ellen, that's a bit of a summary from me.
Good. Thanks, Peter. Now, I've just had a message from Cheryl, who unfortunately had to leave us, as I think maybe a couple of the other people in Dili did also, because the internet is so poor over there. Now, Polly had the idea we should become a think tank. Now, what Cheryl believes is that we should set up some purposeful subgroups, such as science education, libraries, early childhood, for focusing on different areas. Now, I think if we were all able to collect our information about who's doing what, these groups could easily form, because people could contact each other within them. And I think we have to be aware that there are many other groups doing work on education in Timor, and we don't necessarily need a privileged relationship with the government, although we need to sort of always be in communication with them. Now, Katrina, you want to say something? Sorry, did you put your hand up recently?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, good.
So as I'm sure, Helen, that you'll sort of share information among this group, but I'd like to maybe also offer that if anyone wants to send me details, I can put them up over the next few days on the Timor-Link website. And then also after we've got that established, I might just put something out on eeting and say, hey, look, we're starting this. If anybody else wants their details on there, especially with a couple of people who might be able to help with sort of updating the website, then I'll have the capacity to do that. That might be a good sort of starting point to get everyone.
Look, that would be excellent, Katrina. But now the other thing is, don't forget that you can actually use the Google group is an email group. You can send messages to each other on that, and you can even find the email addresses of all the other members of the group by going to the web, or does it go to the page and find out people, so that you can communicate to the whole group with an email, you know, like I communicated to you about the link for this meeting. That can be used for ordinary messages. And I think now the other thing is, I'd like to get some opinion from you people about, you know, whether you think it's worthwhile to have this sort of discussion maybe on a regular basis, like every couple of months or every 6 months, or what sort of, or, you know, because I think it's very useful for people to know when people are going to Timor. I mean, those of us that are in Dili, it's useful to know when people are arriving. Now, I should also mention that I have a Facebook group called Finding Pathways in Education, and most of you are probably on it. I think most of you are on it, actually. But if you're not, have a look for it. And if you're on Facebook, I mean, that's more about, you know, content discussion and that's all sorts of things. But I think that it would be useful to put some of this stuff that people are putting on the chat, you could put in an email to the whole group, because then it will stay there for a while and they'll see it. Whereas on this chat, they can see it, I think, if they look at the recording. Well, I'm not quite sure yet. We've got to work out how to get the recording. Now, our NGO Life Skills Education will have a YouTube channel. Juan Carlos, who is in charge of the YouTube channel, was going to be on this thing, but maybe he had a problem with the internet in Dili. So that we will post this somewhere where people can listen again to the discussion. But again, I think we've got to try and use different media for the group and for people who are interested in coming in, because more people, there are 93 members of the Google group. So that's many more than came to this meeting today. But nevertheless, all interested in education in Timor. So don't, you know, hesitate to use any method you can to communicate what you're doing and what's happening. And even, you know, to get into some little policy debate, communicate articles that have been published, written, research that's been done. And I think something like how many schools there are. You know, Katrina, I'm not very good on collecting this sort of data. I don't know whether you have any of this sort of data on Timor-Link already, but there is some basic.
I don't, but I can put it up there.
That's right. There is basic data on the number of schools, where they are, the level, etc. That would be very useful to have if we could get it, and that would be excellent if you could do that. Now, I think we've actually gone over our time, and quite a few people have left. Now, anybody else wanting to make any final comments?
I've got one final one after. Sorry, I've talked too much in this, but
go. It's
someone else just said, Helen, I'll Trina after you.
Okay, Helen, just a short point. When people are saying, yes, we'll build a school, that is a huge commitment, because it entails teachers, there's salaries, there's superannuation, materials. And unless people are willing to fork out money for that, they should be very careful about saying, yes, we'll build a school. A good example of one that has succeeded is the one being supported by PLC from Sydney. They've got a preschool in Dili, and they have been supporting that for the last 23 years. It's a big commitment.
It is. And now the Better Group has started their school it's in Same. They've also put out a policy paper on why they are making English the medium of instruction. Now, I'm a bit flabbergasted to read this, but maybe I'll post it somewhere and people can have a look at it and see what they think of it, because you know, it shows to me that they need to be in contact with other people who are involved in educational debate in Timor. So,
Helen, can I just also do a shout out to Gabrielle? I think Gabrielle, while I was there in Timor for the first 3 years, when schools were being established, the best in-service to the teachers was provided by Gabrielle, I think on behalf of UNICEF with Alison. The teachers came away raving about her methodology in service that was provided, although it was controversial at the time.
Wow.
So which Gabrielle are we talking to? About
Gabrielle Sampson.
Oh, good. Well, thank you. Thank you. I'm happy to hear that.
Oh, well, I think that's worth hearing about, but thanks for that. Anything that I think is going to be effective will be controversial. So that, you know, our curriculum we propose for the secondary schools is probably too controversial for the government to think about. Reorganising natural science and social science within the framework of 15 of the Sustainable Development Goals, each subject being multidisciplinary, that is a big ask. And at current situation, I don't think it's going to be acceptable. But anyway.
But Helen, isn't it because we don't do things to the Timorese? We have to do things with our colleagues in East Timor, with the Timorese.
No, but look, that is right. And you see, because we advocated setting up an advisory group like the Board of Studies for the VCE for each subject made up 90% of Timorese. So they will make the decisions, what goes into each of those subjects, and they will be experts in the field and experts in teaching. But the problem is they will probably still be in a minority in their own ideas. And this is why in my paper to the TLSA, I said, you know, there are 5 debates Timor has to have. They've got to have public debates around issues of the relationship between theory and practice, the relationship, the high level of specialisation, the way that the education curriculum undermines agriculture. All that has to be subject to national debates among the Timorese. And this is where, you know, we can maybe help them in some way, so that, and our Timorese members here can become involved in this. But and a lot of this we have to do in Australia too. It's not, you know, the way education undermines agriculture in Australia is a bit similar to the way, although it's much more extreme in Timor. The hidden curriculum of education is try to avoid being a farmer. So no educated person will ever become a farmer. So that is a big setback to the economy in the rural areas. But anyway, Katrina, yes.
Yeah, just one final comment, sort of unrelated to this, but something we haven't talked about is linking in universities, Australian universities, because a lot of them have, and I teach a lot of them, Tetun, before they go over. ACU has a massive program. University of Queensland has a big program. A lot of different universities have programs where they go over to Timor. And I don't know if anyone's heard of it, but in Indonesia, there's Australian universities have a consortium called ACICIS, the Australian Consortium for In-Country Indonesian Studies, and it's run in Australia, and they have access to the new Colombo Plan funding. And so students get funded to go from Australia to go and study in Indonesia, universities in Indonesia. And I've thought for years how amazing it would be if we could get Australian universities linked into something like that, or maybe even approach ACICIS if they would expand into Timor, because then you would be getting lots and lots, kind of that idea of, what was it? Something tourism, someone said before, the voluntourism. Well, this could be sort of edu-tourism, getting people into Timor to study at UNTL for a semester, or, and increase those links at that level.
We've had that already at VU. Now that it was unfortunately, it's the university's own local decision not to apply Colombo Plan, so-called Colombo Plan money to a small country like Timor.
The good thing about something like ACICIS is it's a consortium, so it's not just one university.
No, but Indonesia's a huge country. All the universities want to go to Indonesia. They don't. The same. It's hard to go to the Pacific with that money too, because universities make the decision within the university as to which money to apply the Colombo Plan money to. And we've had exchange, but you see, but students at VU, they could still get $1,000 from the university, and they borrowed money or they saved money, and that they didn't seem to think money was what was putting them off going. It was and the reason it's collapsed now is because I've left VU, and this is the problem, that existing lecturers there don't. And I think that there does need to be within the Australian universities, I think, who do work in Timor, there needs to be a discussion among them. And, and even within the universities, Swinburne, there's a lot of people at Swinburne that do stuff in Timor, but they don't even talk to each other. So how on earth can we solve this problem? And again, well, we're talking to each other now. So I think, but that's interesting, Katrina. Of course, you're in a good position to know who's doing what because of your TEDM teaching. And we might, seek your advice on, building a universities network, something like this.
I think it would be fantastic to have just an informal network, because
that's right. And I think now Jean McLean has asked me about this. She wants to know names of people in other universities doing stuff in Timor, because they could be included in things like observer delegations to observe elections and the sorts of things that VU does. And we're establishing an exchange program. We still have have money to bring Timorese UNTL students for a semester or a year to VU to do part of a course, which is very valuable for them. I mean, several of the ones who've been before are actually our members of Life Skills Education. They've got so interested in education when they graduated. So I think that's a good idea, Katrina, and we'll try and pursue it a bit, I think, because yes, education is not just schools. And there is a conglomeration of private universities in Timor now, which is very complex and hardly anyone understands. But that's great. And now, anyone else want to say?
Helen,
yes.
Peter here. Just talking about getting Australian graduates or Australian students to go to Timor and study. Just another idea might be recent graduate, if there'd be a way to start talking about graduates from Australian universities, either Timorese or Australian people, possibly setting up a network that gets them to start working in the Timorese civil service when they graduate, maybe for a year or two. So that there'd be a learning experience for for both the recent graduate and also assist whatever ministry they go and work for. I did a similar thing when I graduated. I went and worked in Singapore for 2 years. So I worked for the civil service in Singapore, but it's another idea for forming relations between students, graduates, and Timor.
Yes, well, look, again, I think some of these ideas could be put in emails on our Google group discussion group, and then if we need to go and select search for data or something to be put on the Timor-Link web page. I'm also looking at trying to learn how to use some of these other pieces of software that exist to help organisations communicate among their members. Anybody here? Now, look, it's a pity we haven't had any I wouldn't say we haven't had any IT people involved. We had Shazer involved, but does anybody here remember the organisation Info Timor? Yes?
Vaguely.
Yes, you see, I seriously believe Timor needs something like Info Timor now. And the person who set up Info Timor was Andrew Marr, who seems to have lost interest in it. It was based on what's it called in Melbourne?
Helen, there was an earlier group that Info Timor may have piggybacked onto, which started operating in Dili around about 2002, which was, I think it was called the East Timor Technology Assistance Group or something like that. I came across some of their historic documents, and they began bringing computers and teaching computer networking in the very early days, which was quite interesting.
Yes, because there are, I think there would be ways of getting computers from schools in Australia to schools in Timor if there were trained people to recondition them and then train the teachers.
Helen,
yes.
We two things. We send many computers to schools in our district through Rotary.
Yes.
So Rotary DRK has a very good system of redoing computers. So I think we've sent about 30 or 40 computers over the years. The second thing is that Andrew Marr is now a bit associated with Monash Friends of Amasse. His young colleague Ashley Wild is now very active in our group, and I'll talk to Ashley and see what involvement. And Ashley himself is quite skilled in IT. See what involvement. I'll get him to get back to you, Helen, about information technology.
Yes. Now, Friends of Same also had somebody who worked for Info Exchange, went to Same, but the thing is, the Rotary Club is a good way of sending things, but you need to have Timorese there on the ground who can deal with them.
Helen, the Rotary Club of Dili has, oh my goodness, I've forgotten the name of two people who actually intercept when the shipment, from DIK arrives in Dili. Rotary Club of Dili is contacted immediately, and then the two people, and I can't think of their name right now.
Oh, I know who you mean, yes.
They go to harbour and they check all the consignments that were sent through Rotary and who the contact person for the recipients is, and they contact each person or each organization to come and collect it. So that's not a problem. That works very smoothly.
No, but sorry, that's not the role that Info Timor played. The role Info Timor played was to recondition computers, teach people how to recondition computers, allocate them to a school. You know, actually, you know, Rotary doesn't do that. They just make sure that you have to have a person already there who.
That's right. Yes, that's correct.
That's right.
Yes.
Would it be worth linking into the ministry itself and getting them to be involved?
I'm sorry. This is one of the things the ministry is incapable of doing itself. It has no really good plan for putting computers in the schools. This is why it's a crisis situation.
Is it a good time now with a new incoming, now new again incoming government to say, hey, look, this might be a good thing? Would you?
Well, no, we would have to know, because look, they got, I'll tell you what, they got PhD, they got the bloody Australian aid program to bring some people from the Philippines to write a project for getting computers into the schools, and it was shocking. And, you know, there is no concept of nature of us. You see, this is why we have our little IT group meeting in Dili, which Shazer is a member of, and David Lee whenever he comes over. You know, we've got people like Abel Perez de Silva. There are so few computer professionals in the country. Nobody's at the level of making policy. It's a tragedy. It's just. And you see, Info Timor produced a few good people. At the time now, got him trained in IT, trained in certificate forum, training in assessment. Andrew Mars got him, you know, selling fruit in his fruit shop, for goodness sake. You know, I can't believe that the country has, in a sense, turned its back on information technology.
Helen, what I've done is, because I'm involved with the Rotary DIK warehouse. That's where my group, we send. We've had our.
Look, I'm not criticising Rotary's
No, but it just on a practical level, if anybody wants to purchase a reconditioned laptop computer, they can do so for $50 for each laptop through the DIK computer refurbishment program, and they could allocate that to whoever they want to send it to.
Oh, now where's that located?
Well, so the DIK warehouse in West Footscray, within it has a unit which is run by Rick Westacott, who refurbishes laptops. They get them donated from banks and other big organisations that are renewing their computers.
I didn't know about that.
And personally, myself, whenever I've had $100 free, I'll purchase 2 laptops from the warehouse, and I'll just allocate them to whoever's asking for a laptop in Timor. It's quite a simple process, and you can send them to whoever you need to.
Peter, just to confirm, so we should contact DIK directly in order to.
Yeah. So
easy.
If you don't know, if you're just Googling this, you just Google the DIK warehouse.
I am very familiar with DIK and with Laurie.
With Laurie. You speak to Laurie. Laurie will give you the phone number of the computer people who work within the warehouse. They've got a little section where they fix the computers up, and they put a charity version of Windows on it, which is fully, so it gets shipped with a fully updated Windows charity license, so it's properly licensed software.
All right, so it's not
and that's
software,
good. And it keeps up, once it gets to Timor, it keeps updating itself. And and just I typically speak to Rick Westacott, and I say, Rick, I need 2 laptops, and he goes, sure, that's $100. Who do you want to send them to? And then there's a little bit of shipping, maybe $20 for each laptop, but you can just put a sticker on it, and the people in the warehouse will make it go to that person in Dili.
Yeah, excellent.
So Helen, that's what I was saying that we do. We actually, Friends of Amase, we collect computers from our members, and we I think we've collected 30, send them to the DIK computer people. they do what Peter said they do, and then we send them to schools in Vermasse. The other thing that we discovered was that the most useful addition to a computer to a school is a data projector. So if you have a computer in the school and you have something to project what's on the screen onto another, that proved to be the most useful thing we've done, and we've sent about 10 or so of these data projectors to our group of schools.
And Tom, I've also found by shipping some very cheap black and white laser printers along with the laptops, that you can find a brand of laser printer where you can buy the cartridges really cheap through Amazon.
Really?
So you ship a black and white laser printer and five spare cartridges along with the laptops, and that will keep them going for 1 year in a school, printing out various things. And that'll put you back about about $300 to purchase those from Officeworks. But it's just very simple laser printer, black and white, and that's been a massive success with we've done that a couple of times with Canossen kindergartens.
Now, is anyone sending desktops that have been used in Australian schools to Timorese schools?
Plenty of desktops have been sent by DIK in the past. They've mostly come from banks, etc. The thing about shipping a desktop is that the shipping is based on volume, so you can ship 4 laptops for the cost of shipping a desktop. So we've tended just to mainly do laptops, and if theft or them going missing is an issue, you can put a lock on them to,
Yeah, well, schools that are trying to set up a computer lab really want desktops rather than laptops because people steal laptops.
Correct. You can get one of those locking devices that lock it to the desk, but I mean, it's just how much you're willing to pay on shipping.
No, but again, you see, it's because the schools don't have IT trained staff that can make these decisions. This is the thing.
One other thing, Helen, I used to do build IT pods for government schools here in Melbourne. That was a program back in the early 2000s. And what we used to find was that the government would fund, say, 20 desktops to build what they called an IT pod. In those days, computers were still a bit special and they'd be in their own room. But of course, nobody would fund the PowerPoints or the data points to go. So 20 computers would turn up at the school and they'd say, well, we don't have the money to employ an electrician to put 20 PowerPoints in, and there's no data routing in the school. So the cost of all that would probably be more than the computers themselves. So that's something to think about.
Look, the whole introduction of IT into Timor is a can of worms, and it's partly an educational program. That's why I'm raising it here. But we don't even know the nature of the IT professions needed in Timor. There is a course in the tech box schools, but it's all largely about either the IT subject, the technology, electronic subjects about repairing computers. There's an office administration subject about using them. But together, those are not enough for the professions needed in the country, and there's nothing at the university level. So.
Sorry, Helen, and everyone, I have to leave.
Yes, look, I think we better.
All the best.
Begin to bring this to a close.
Goodbye.
I need to head off too.
And thank you, everybody, for your participation. The ones that are the stayers that are still here at the end. And I will communicate with you all on the YouTube, on the Google group, and tell you where you can watch the recording. And hopefully you'll be able to see the comments too that people have written, and you can be in communication with each other. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much.
We'll have
Yeah.
another one. We
Thank
might
you
have
so much.
another
Thank
one,
you, Helen.
you know, in a
Have
month
a
or so,
lovely
or a
day
couple of
and
months.
then
So thank you,
Happy
everybody,
Year.
for
Bye, everyone.
participating. Thank you, Helen.
Bye, everyone.
All the
Bye.
best.
Bye,
Goodbye,
See you,
everyone.
Polly. See you,
Bye.
Helen. See everyone.
Bye.
Thank you.
Helen. Bye.
See you
Bye-bye.
all. Bye.
Bye.
And